Do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a proven roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. We walk you through the exact same process that we use to run franchise marketing campaigns for our clients at scale that has resulted in triple-digit growth. This blueprint isn't for anyone. It's not for people just starting a franchise. It's not for franchises without long-term goals. This is for franchises that want to scale up their marketing in a predictable and profitable way using a proven roadmap. If you want to sell more franchises, keep your current franchisees happy, and learn from people who have already done it, go to franchisegrowthblueprint.com and sign up today. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. Today, I'm very excited. I have a fellow Canadian, Stephen Knight, who is the partner and creator of solutions and opportunities at Mosaic Home Services Group of Companies. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jordan. This is exciting and it's an awesome show. I love listening.
Awesome. Well, as I said, it's great to have you on. So for our listeners who haven't heard of you and Mosaic, what are you all about?
So we're an Edmonton-based incubator of franchise brands. What we do is like an umbrella. Underneath our umbrella, we currently have 8 different brands, all in the home improvement sector, that provide different types of products and services to primarily homeowners, some light construction services, things like window washing, gutter cleaning. We've got a company that supplies and installs screen doors. We've got a brand that even does holiday clothing. So there's a lot of brands under our umbrella. We are structured like a private capital fund would be. These are companies that we own. We're not a marketing platform. We're not a pyramid scheme. These are companies that we've started or we've bought. And our goal here at Mosaic is to incubate and build and grow companies to the point where they do start to branch out as franchise brands. We started in 2016, and in 2020, we launched our first franchisable brand, sold our first franchise unit of a company called 5 Star Holiday Decor. And we've got pretty hairy, audacious goals here. We want to one day be Canada's leader in home improvement franchising. We recognize we have a long way to go, but we're passionate people and we're excited about how we're going to get there.
Awesome. I love it. And, when I was doing some pre-call research on you, I know you come from a demolition home services background. So what kind of brought you into the franchise world?
So Jordan, you know what? We started as franchisors. We started our franchising journey actually as franchisees. In 2016, we were franchisees of 5 Star Holiday Decor. And it was a brand that just wasn't really getting a lot of love from the franchisor at the time. We had other brands that we looked at and we evaluated for their ability to grow using a franchise model, but 5 Star was one that had actually, to a certain extent, been proven that it could be done. And in 2019, we decided, you know what, if we're ever going to grow this thing, we have 2 options. We can either add a corporate location and put more trucks on the road and get more people, or we can take a look at the business model, put it together in a box, make it so airtight that we know that anybody could open it and operate it with profit from day number 1. And that's what we did. We focused a lot of time and a lot of energy into getting that business model really tight, get the marketing really tight, and it's worked almost too well. We've got clients in cities that we continue to service as a corporate location that we are actively looking for franchisees in. But to answer your question, Jordan, we started our franchising journey as franchisees. We were able to see a lot of the things that work and a lot of things that don't work. And we had a lot of kind of exposure to both. And we're trying as best we can to develop models that work really, really well for franchisees, where we deliver value every day.
I like it. So, start off as a franchisee. Now you run, for lack of a better term, almost like a Holdco, right? So what inspired you to move to that kind of like that Holdco structure rather than kind of doubling down?
Well, a couple of reasons. Being based in Edmonton, the seasons that we get here are very dramatic. And we could have doubled down in the world of holiday decor, but you're betting, a long year on a very short series of months. And if you have a year where something completely unexpected happens, like a pandemic, you have no real backup. There's no business security there. So we decided that, we would go broad in our first few years. We would bring on a few brands, some of which we recognize, hey, these are great franchisable models, and others we look at and say maybe they'll never get there. But we wanted to create a steady base where, in Edmonton, at least for the Edmonton area, uh, really any homeowner could call us for any service that they need, and they'll be able to get either a direct service from us or a referral to somebody that we would trust. We did that through a shared ownership model, a partnership model, where we would, partner with people who had exceptional skills but needed the help in their business to, whether it's, properly run the finances, or properly market the service, or handle some sales, or some inside sales or outside sales. And doing that really allowed us to, develop that Holdco model, as you said, where Mosaic is kind of that top piece and all the brands are underneath it. And the brands underneath it kind of benefit from the shared overhead of a call center that we've been able to build here, a marketing team that we've been able to build here, a finance team that we've been able to build here, a safety team. So, bringing them all together made a lot of financial sense, made a lot of sense in terms of delivering service to our customers. Now that we've got that steady base, we're ready to start going deep into some of these brands to say, hey, they're ready to franchise and we're ready to go. Now let's go do it.
Very cool. Very cool. So, you mentioned that you lean on the seasonality side. So, do you see a lot of cross pollination between your brands in terms of like sharing customers?
Yeah, definitely. So customer base, when a customer hires a Mosaic service, they expect a certain level of client service, certain level of professionalism. It's, the reason why a lot of people hire a franchise brand in the first place. I call Molly Maid because it's a trusted name, and that's what we've been able to develop to a certain degree here in Edmonton, where if somebody calls a Mosaic brand, whether it's five-star holiday decor or screensavers or, shine above window washing, they know that they're going to receive that level of service that they would expect from hiring a big brand. Um, Cross pollination in clients has really been helpful for us. In the home improvement sector, if you're going to hire somebody to cut your grass, then odds are you're going to also hire somebody to do your maid service, or do wash your windows, and that's been, helpful for us as a business to be able to develop that really robust database of clients that we can offer multiple things to. However, cross pollination in staff, not so much. Each one of our brands here could walk out the door tomorrow and go function as their own independent business. They've got their own management teams, their own sales teams, their own frontline staff. And we've been very blessed to be able to develop those really crucial teams. So, suffice to say, the person who's washing your windows isn't also cutting your grass. We develop skill sets and individuals in each of those brands.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I'm curious, the market that you're in, home services, it's quite fragmented, right? Like you have mom and pops coming up, you have regional, national, competitors. So what has that been like, especially as an emerging brand that you are right now?
It's been tough. Like you said, there are national brands, there are the mom and pops, and this is a challenge that we struggled with for a long, long time, especially because there are so many. How do I put it? Marketing services, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That are playing in that home improvement space. Things like Home Stars or Angie's List, or which those two are owned by the same company, which is kind of crazy to me. Anyway, there are lots of those lead generation services out there. And if you're not careful, I've seen the really passionate entrepreneur who is a great painter or a great carpet cleaner. They'll go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars on those types of services and not really get the leads that they're looking for. And they're just kind of throwing the money away. So we struggled for a while when we first got started in Mosaic to really, get that market penetration. And it wasn't until we uh, kind of controversially had to sit down and start marketing and start having conversations with our sales team to tell them and to tell our customers that, hey, we're not necessarily for everyone. A homeowner isn't really a homeowner. The single mom who hires the plumber to unclog a sink has very different purchasing behaviors and expectations than the retired couple that is doing a whole remodel of their bathroom. Those are two very different things. And a lot of times in the home improvement space, you see entrepreneurs just say, I want more leads, I want more homeowners. And they don't dive nearly deep enough into what that actually means. So we at Mosaic really had to go through a kind of a customer discovery journey to understand who is that ideal target client, those ideal target profiles, to the point where you can physically picture that person. And once you get there, things get a lot more simple.
Mm-hmm. So tell me how your marketing has evolved since creating that like perfect customer now.
It got much more simple. It was easier for us to, now that you identify who that particular individual is, not just homeowners, it's the individual, whether it's like the newly married couple, or it's the first time homeowner, or the renter, or whoever it is. Once you define that a little bit more, you can actually start to develop targeted messaging to them. You can start to identify what platforms they're using the most, and you can start to actually allocate your marketing dollars to where that client is. So for us, it was really targeting in on some of our brands with homeowners that have kids. If you are a family and your kids are still living at home, meaning that typically they're either in college or younger, there's a lot of services that we can offer to you, because really at that point, yes, you're price conscious, but you're more time conscious. Your weekends are virtuous. You don't want to spend them cutting the grass and washing the windows. And we identified, hey, that's a great target market for us. Now, okay, well, how do those people make their purchasing decisions? When do they decide? And a lot of that buying is done after 5 p.m. So for us, it was, okay, well, we understand that this is the client now, and this is who we need to go after. So maybe our call center needs to stay open till 8, and we start later in the morning. Or we have, people that are on Facebook responding to messages and selling directly over social media, because that's when those people make purchasing decisions. So for us, it was just a bit of a journey to understand how those decisions get made, when they get made, and how we particularly target those individuals. Because we don't have really the luxury of opening a retail location, putting up a sign and saying, hey, people are going to drive past us. It's just not the way that home improvement works.
Totally. So, you mentioned Facebook, you mentioned a call center. So what have been the most successful channels to date for you in terms of marketing?
We'll get right back to the show, but do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. To find out more, visit franchisegrowthblueprint.com. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Now back to today's episode.
Hands down, the big bad engine of Google and Google AdWords and SEO. And there are a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me who talk about it. But by far the best decision that we ever made in business was to bring SEO, web development, and Google AdWords in-house. We went out to the market. We interviewed for a very long time to find the best person in our city that can do it. That was available to us at the time, and bringing that person in to do the web development, do the web design, do SEO, run Google AdWords campaigns, do all those types of things. That was, by far the single best source of leads. There are lots of services that we do subscribe to, like the Home Stars and the Angie's List and the Renovation Find, and there's lots of Facebook advertising, LinkedIn, and there's lots of different ways you can attract clients. But at the end of the day, if you're not immediately visible to them when they are looking for that particular service, it doesn't matter. You're just not going to get them.
Yeah. And you know what, you bring up a great point in that there are channels that you rent and then channels that you kind of own, right? Like you own your website. That's not going to go away, right? You can spend $100,000 or $0 and you still own it. While with something like Angie or Home Stars, as you mentioned, it's pay to play and you don't own the data. You don't own anything. So I love that movement towards in-house, that investment that you've made.
Yeah, and you know, Jordan, you made a really good point there about owning the data, and that's one thing that the home improvement industry in general sometimes struggles with. Is you're right. If I subscribe to a mailing list or I subscribe to a service or whatever it might be to collect leads, I don't own that page that they give me on the internet, but I do get to retain the client information if I do it well. So, you know, if Susie goes on HomeStars and they find us and they hire us and whatever that might be, you know, I still need Susie's name and address and credit card information and email address and all the details about their home that go above and beyond what I'm able to get from that lead generation service. Things that might not seem important, but really are. Like, do they have pets? Do they have kids? How old's the home? How long have they been living there? Things that you can very easily have a conversation about when you're on site and when you're delivering a service to somebody. They seem insignificant, but the power of that data is priceless. And if you track it well and you put it in a good CRM, you know, you never know what the next industry trend is going to present you with. And, you know, all of a sudden here you are, maybe you've got a new line of revenue, a new service where, you know, hey, I've got a friend that wants to go to pet grooming place. Well, I have a list of 12,000 homeowners that have pets. How about we go do this, right? So it's important that you retain that data and you collect it legally and you retain it legally, but it's important that you do as much as you can to keep the data, even if you don't own the place that it's coming from.
I love it. I love it. And as, you know, marketer and, you know, a former economics student, I love that you're leveraging data in an ethical, but in a very purpose-driven way.
Yeah, it's been one of the most important things for us as we've grown multiple lines of business. So, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, why do you have 8 different companies providing service? Like, how do you possibly manage that? And the answer is a great team. But the bigger answer to how we got here relies on simply asking our customers on a very regular basis, what other services do you hire around the house? You know, we started as a company that did screen doors, a company that did Christmas lights, and a company that did fencing. And by simply asking the question, you know, 2, 3 times a year, what else do you contract out? You know, we've got a maid service company, we've got a lawn care company, we've got a window washing company, we've got a painting company, because those are all things that clients can make use of. And it's just leveraging that relationship and that data to continue to grow our footprint.
Mhm. So how do you, you know, you hear something mentioned over and over again, whether, you know, maybe it's like pet grooming or pet walking, you know, is there a certain threshold that, you know, you have to hit internally for you guys to roll out a new brand for it? Like, to walk me through that thought process.
Yeah, so we go through a model called the 4C method. So we look at it. We've got a kind of a model that we developed internally to say, does this new stream of revenue fit with our model? We've identified that we will likely never add a brand that is a Red Seal accredited trade like plumbing or electrical or carpentry, because that's just not who we are. That's not who we want to be. We're very focused on that home improvement service. And the 4C model works like this. First and foremost, is the customer the same? You know, that can't be, oh yeah, the customer's homeowners. No, does it fit that very particular groove that we've already talked about? Is it convenient? So is it convenient for us to enter that market? Is it going to require a major capital outlay? Do we need more space? Do we need more trucks? Like, what do we need? Cash flow is another C. So is the cash flow of this new revenue stream the same as or better than the other cash flow streams that we've already got? Which, you know, that's a big hairy question when you talk about getting into some capital intensive industries like fencing, where, you know, all of a sudden your average ticket value goes from $400 to, you know, $14,000. Those are very different cash flow cycles. And the last is cross sale. Is, can this new stream of revenue that we're looking at bringing on, can it feed more work to the existing streams of revenue that we already have? So we use that model to really evaluate, is it a good opportunity for us? Is it a bad opportunity for us? Where does it fit with our existing model?
I love it. I love how, again, like, purposeful you are with expanding, right? Like, it's not a good fit for everyone, or this opportunity may not be a good fit for us, even though we could make a lot of money, right? It has to fit that big picture that you have set out.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can't, and at the end of the day, if we can't be great at it, then we don't do it. We make a lot of mistakes. Don't get me wrong. And I actually love when we make mistakes because it's an opportunity to get out there and make it right. And sometimes that speaks more volumes than doing it perfectly the first time. But if we can't be experts in it and we can't do well at it, we won't do it.
I love it. So tell me about some of these mistakes that you've made and the learnings from them.
Oh goodness. It's everything from like I'll tell you about one last week. We've got a window washing brand called Shine Above. Edmonton's a rapidly developing city, and as a result, we've got all these little suburbs that are kind of popping up, and Edmonton for years and years and years and years and years has been a city that operates on streets and avenues, and everything's all numbered, and in my mind it's perfectly logical, and a lot of people's minds it's perfectly logical. But these new suburbs are names, so it's 409 Apple Road or an Apple Wind and Apple Boulevard and whatever. Well, we get a job, and Google is a little bit unreliable in these new areas, and we show up and we get out and we get the ladder up and we're washing windows, and homeowner comes home and he says, "What the heck are you guys doing? Why are you washing my windows?" So, "Oh, well, we're at the wrong house." So, it's because the street names, instead of going to close, they went to um it was something that court. They went to court instead of close. And it was simple mistake, simple, oh shoot kind of thing. And it was one of those opportunities where we looked at that homeowner and said, "Well, obviously we don't expect you to pay for service because you didn't hire us. But what do you think of the windows?" He says, "They look great. They haven't looked this good since we moved in. How about you put some lawn signs up? I'm going to talk to all my neighbors." I think we've washed every house on the block, because it was just one of those things where we made an honest mistake. We were honest about making the mistake. And all of a sudden, here you are. Now you've got an evangelist of the brand that was kind enough to say, "Hey, I'm not mad at you for trespassing. One, and two, I'm gonna advocate for you." So, it's simple little things, where you have to eat your humble pie and accept the fact that you're wrong and you made a mistake and you just got to go fix it.
I'm so glad. Like this is a great story, by the way. But I'm so glad that you brought up like just owning that mistake, because I think just that in itself helps you set yourself apart from the competition. Not everyone's going to do that, which personally I find so shocking.
Yeah, and I mean, to us, it's just part of our values. We're straightforward. We screwed up here. This is what happened. Here you go. And we make plenty of mistakes, but at the end of the day, if you don't learn from them, they're not really worth anything. So for us, it's about taking that opportunity to say, okay, well, how do we fix this in the future? What happened? What went wrong? Let's fix it. We make mistakes all the time. It's just about being honest about them.
I love it. So, Stephen, one question I really like to ask guests is what advice would you give someone just starting off as a franchisor?
Well, we've stumbled along the way as a franchisor many times. Really, being that we're an emerging brand, it's just kind of tripping through the front gate of identifying who's the perfect franchisee, what's the perfect value proposition to them. If I had to give one piece of advice, I would say before you even start, understand why you're doing this. Like, does it fulfill the long-term goal that you have for you, for your company, for your team, for your family? For us, we've got a big, hairy, audacious goal. We want to, be the leader in the home improvement industry in franchising in Canada. And, where we're going and the steps that we're taking all are pointing towards that big, hairy, audacious goal. But if you're just looking at it and saying, okay, well, I've got a business, whether it's in home improvement or something else, and I'm going to grow it using a franchise model, yes, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't want to consistently help other entrepreneurs grow their own business, then you're probably in the wrong industry. And you need to enter with a mindful approach that you will be effectively helping other people grow the business. And at some point, it doesn't really become yours anymore. It's a living, breathing thing that will take on its own culture and its own set of values and its own set of systems. And you have to be willing to play with that amount of control. So really, just identify why you're getting into it, and have a lot of conversations with people who are in it, and listen to a lot of really great podcasts like this one, and then make that decision.
Very, very good advice. Not biased at all towards a podcast. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Uh, so Stephen, you talked about staying focused. So how have you and the rest of the team put those blinders on so you're not getting that shiny object syndrome to take you away from that big, hairy, audacious goal?
Talk about it frequently and make it really, really obvious to anyone you talk to. So we do something here called a quarterly theme, and every quarter we sit down as a team and develop a new theme of something that we want to work on in the business. And then bi-weekly we sit down with our entire management team. We do a whole kind of town hall style, working through a subject area that we all want to improve on. And as a root of that bi-weekly meeting, we're always talking about BHAG. We're always talking about rocks and things that we're working towards to achieve that BHAG. It's just about keeping it front and center. And I would even argue that bi-weekly isn't enough. But as your organization grows, you need to make some give and take sacrifices there. Front and center. Like we put vinyl wall decals all over our call center where the goal is this, and our steps to get there are this, and you physically can't in the office without looking at them. So making it really obvious has helped us keep the blinders on. And I mean, we've made mistakes there too and entered industries that we probably shouldn't have, but that was part of the learning experience to say, hey, we need to make these things a little bit more front and center.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like how just bam in your face it is to everyone across the organization, because then it really makes sure that everyone collectively is rowing in that same direction and no one's kind of fighting against each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So Stephen, I could chat with you all day, but we're nearing the end of the episode, and I like to end all of them with something that I call the lightning round. So it's a few fast-paced questions coming at you. Are you ready?
Go fire.
All right. First question. What is your favorite tool or app that you cannot live without?
Siri. I take all my reminders and all my notes on Siri.
Love it. Next question. What is your favorite book?
You know what? I actually really loved Steve Jobs. That was a great autobiography, if that's what you want to call it, but it was a fantastic, very long read about a visionary leader that was awesome.
Very cool. Who is a franchise leader that you look up to?
I look up to the Dwyer Group, which now called Neighborly. They're a powerhouse when it comes to the home improvement franchise network and system in the States. They've got very well recognized brands that and they do it right. Their values very much align with ours. So I look up to the Neighborly and the Dwyer Group a lot.
Very cool. All right, Stephen, last question, I promise. Where can people find out more about you and Mosaic?
Take a look at our website, getmosaic.ca, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I post as much as humanly possible about all kinds of things like the 4 C's and different things that we've learned along the way. So LinkedIn is definitely the best way to get a hold of me.
Sweet. All right, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You dropped a ton of knowledge that I know our listeners are going to love.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and subscribe now so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And until then, happy marketing.